Have you ever met someone who looks completely fine from the outside? They answer messages. They show up to work. They smile when people talk to them. They finish what needs to be done. They keep their room clean enough, their schedule organized enough, their life presentable enough. And because they are still functioning, everyone assumes they are okay. But inside, something is tired in a way sleep does not fix. They are not falling apart in a visible way. They are not crying in front of everyone. They are not asking for help. They are simply moving through life with a mind that feels heavy, a body that feels drained, and a soul that has been quietly carrying too much for too long. This is the psychology of people who are mentally exhausted but still functioning. And the strange part is, these people are often the hardest to notice because they do not look like the stereotype of someone who is struggling. They do not always miss deadlines. They do not always disappear. They do not always break down. In fact, many of them are responsible, capable, calm, and dependable. They are the people others rely on, the ones who always seem to handle things, the ones who say, "I'm just tired," when what they really mean is, "I don't know how much longer I can keep carrying everything like this." But psychology says this kind of exhaustion is not laziness. It is not weakness. And it is not a lack of discipline. It is often what happens when a person has been in survival mode for so long that functioning becomes automatic. They are not okay. They are just trained to keep going. The first thing to understand is that mental exhaustion does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like replying to a message after staring at it for 20 minutes. Sometimes it looks like sitting in your car before going inside because you need a few seconds where nobody needs anything from you. Sometimes it looks like opening your laptop and doing the work, even though your brain feels like it is moving through fog. Sometimes it looks like smiling at people because explaining how tired you are would take more energy than pretending you are fine. This is why mentally exhausted people are often misunderstood, because the world measures struggle by how much you stop. But some people do not stop. They slow down internally. Their joy becomes quieter. Their patience becomes thinner. Their thoughts become heavier. Their body keeps moving, but their inner world starts shutting down one room at a time. And one of the biggest reasons this happens is emotional overload. Some people are not just tired because they have too much to do. They are tired because they have too much to feel. They are carrying conversations they never finished, responsibilities they never asked for, pressure they never admitted was hurting them, expectations they keep trying to meet, disappointments they never had time to process. They wake up already behind, already tense, already calculating what needs to be handled next. And from the outside, this can look like productivity. But on the inside, it feels like being trapped inside a life that never gives your nervous system permission to exhale. This is where the brain begins to adapt. When stress becomes normal, the brain stops treating it like an emergency and starts treating it like the environment. The person becomes used to pressure, used to tension, used to waking up tired, used to needing rest but not feeling allowed to take it. And after a while, they stop asking, "Why am I so exhausted?" They start thinking, "This is just who I am now." But it is not who they are. It is what their nervous system has learned to survive. The second sign is that small things start feeling strangely difficult. Not because the person is incapable, but because their mental energy is already being spent before the task even begins. A simple email feels heavy. A phone call feels like too much. A normal conversation feels draining. Making a decision about dinner feels overwhelming. And they may judge themselves for this. They may think, "Why can't I just do simple things like everyone else?" But the truth is, their brain is not reacting to the size of the task. It is reacting to the amount of energy left. When your mind is already overloaded, even small demands feel like one more weight placed on a table that is already about to collapse. This is why mentally exhausted people often become quiet. Not because they have nothing to say, but because speaking requires energy. Explaining requires energy. Being understood requires energy. And sometimes even being around people they love feels difficult, not because they stop caring, but because their inner battery is empty. This creates a painful guilt. They want to be present. They want to respond. They want to be kind, patient, available, and emotionally open. But part of them wants to disappear into silence where nobody asks questions and nothing has to be performed. And that is one of the loneliest parts of mental exhaustion. You can care deeply and still not have the energy to show it. The third sign is emotional numbness. People often think exhaustion means feeling too much, but sometimes exhaustion means feeling less. The person stops getting excited about things they used to enjoy. Music does not hit the same. Food tastes normal. Good news feels distant. Messages from friends feel like tasks. Even rest does not feel restful. They are not necessarily sad. They are not necessarily hopeless. They just feel disconnected from the part of themselves that used to feel alive. Psychology often connects this to burnout and chronic stress. When the brain is exposed to pressure for too long, it begins to conserve energy. It reduces emotional intensity. It lowers expectations. It protects the person from feeling the full weight of everything at once. But the cost is that joy becomes harder to access too, because the mind cannot selectively numb only pain. When it shuts down to protect you from overwhelm, it often shuts down the brighter feelings as well. And this can be terrifying, because the person may wonder, what happened to me? They may look at old photos, old hobbies, old dreams, and feel like they are remembering someone they used to be. Someone lighter, someone more hopeful, someone who did not need so much effort just to get through an ordinary day. But that person is not gone. They are buried under exhaustion. The fourth sign is that they become extremely good at appearing normal. This is where high-functioning exhaustion becomes dangerous, because the person knows how to perform stability. They know how to answer, "I'm good." They know how to make jokes. They know how to complete tasks. They know how to keep the outside of their life from revealing the inside of their mind. And the more capable they are, the less people check on them. This teaches them a painful lesson, that people only worry when you stop functioning. So they keep functioning. They keep being useful. They keep being reliable. They keep being the person who can handle it. And slowly being strong becomes less of a choice and more of a prison. Because when everyone believes you are okay, it becomes harder to admit that you are not. There is also a deeper reason some people become this way. Many mentally exhausted people learned early that their value was connected to how well they managed things. Maybe they were praised for being mature, for not causing problems, for helping others, for staying calm, for being responsible. Maybe they grew up in environments where their own needs felt inconvenient, so they learned to hide them. They became low maintenance on the outside while caring too much on the inside. And now as adults, they do not collapse easily, but not because nothing hurts them, because they were trained to keep pain organized. They can be falling apart internally and still ask everyone else if they need anything. That is not peace. That is conditioning. And this is why rest feels complicated for them. When they finally get a quiet moment, they do not always relax. Sometimes their mind becomes louder. All the emotions they postponed start coming forward. All the exhaustion they ignored begins to surface. So they distract themselves. They scroll. They clean. They work. They plan. They keep moving because stillness makes them feel what busyness helped them avoid. But the body keeps score. The mind can pretend. The calendar can stay full. The smile can stay convincing. But the nervous system knows. It knows when you are tired. It knows when you are forcing yourself. It knows when you are surviving instead of living. And eventually it will ask for rest in ways you cannot ignore. Through irritability, through brain fog, through emotional numbness, through sudden tears, through losing interest in everything, through a deep, quiet feeling of, I cannot keep doing life like this. And maybe that feeling is not a failure. Maybe it is the first honest signal your body has been able to send. Because the goal is not just to keep functioning. The goal is to feel alive while you function. To stop measuring your worth by how much you can carry without complaining. To stop calling yourself lazy when you are actually depleted. To stop confusing endurance with healing. Because yes, you may be strong. You may be capable. You may have survived things quietly that nobody ever saw. But you are not meant to turn your whole life into proof that you can handle pain. You are not meant to be useful until you disappear from yourself. You are not meant to earn rest only after you have nothing left. So if you are mentally exhausted but still functioning, understand this. You are not weak because you are tired. You are not broken because small things feel heavy. You are not ungrateful because your life looks fine, but your mind does not feel fine. You are human, and humans were never designed to carry everything alone while pretending it is not heavy. Maybe the most important step is not doing more. Maybe it is finally telling the truth. I am tired. I need space. I need help. I need a life that does not constantly drain me just so I can prove I am strong. Because one day, functioning will not be enough. You will want peace. You will want softness. You will want mornings that do not begin with dread. You will want relationships where you do not have to perform being okay. You will want to recognize yourself again. And that is not too much to ask. That is what healing often begins with. Not a dramatic breakdown, not a perfect plan, not a sudden transformation. Just one quiet moment where you stop pretending that being able to carry everything means it is not heavy.